These are my observations after reading Chapter 5, Kolbrin Bible, Book 2, Gleanings. Chapter 5, verse 1 through 4 is background, so I condensed it and offered the ideas of how it resembled some of the events from the three main religions. However, I do have the Chapter 5 in its full already posted. Line of Hanuk. 3 brothers by the mother, 1 by Sidara. 2 were on the great ship. 1 was saved from the flood in Megin. Hanok ruled land of Bokah. Sons Labeth and Hatana were born at Nezerah, after the great ship became fast, which I believe was meaning landed on firm ground. Hanok's brothers divided the land after the flood. 1 went to Tadana, who ruled over the western waters. 1 ruled over the eastern waters and the swamps down to the waters of the sea. 1 raised up Araka. In between, he had the most success. The city stood for 1,000 years. Araka eventually was ruled by King Nadiressa. He made great images, and children were sacrificed to those images. God unleashed his wrath through terrible winds. Araka was completely destroyed. That sounded like Nebuchadnezzar in the book of Daniel. His dream leads to the return to worship Marduk, making Araka maybe Babylon. Lugador taught working of metals, thought maybe during the Bronze Age, and he was the mightiest of kings. Wisdom came by hand of our father, Herminator, who was at birth called Hankada, born at Egelmec in land of Caleb under Araka, which sounds like maybe a vassal city of Araka, which I think may be Babylon. Mother was Netashu, maiden of the temple, and the father, which I think is the king, Gela Meshor, was the builder of walls, the son of Lagador, who was the worker of metals. Lagador was the son of Dumath, the shepherd, who started life not as a king. That's what I think anyway. Dumath was son of Jigatin, the tiller of the soil. GLN 5:5. In the days when the mother of Hermanatar carried him under her heart with pain, the king, his father, had a dream. He saw a woman and knew he had just lain with her, but could not see her face clearly, for whenever he almost recognized it, the likeness changed to that of another. The woman was purifying herself over a bowl of incense, and while so doing she made water. Then a great cloud of smoke arose up from out of the bowl and filled all the room, and it went out through the doors and filled all the city and all the temples of the city. GLN 5:6. The following night the king was disturbed by the same dream. Therefore, knowing he had received an omen, upon his arising he hastened to send a messenger to the temple of the stargazers. 2 wise men came, and he told them concerning his dream, requesting that they read its meaning. Having heard the words of the king, they thereupon left, going away to consult the book of heaven to discover what was written in the future concerning such a matter. In 2 days they returned, coming in unto the king as he sat within the hall of judgment, and they bowed before him, saying, Woe unto us, your servants, for what we have to say, for thus it is written, 1 is to be born of a woman whom you have ravished, and he will be a slayer of kings, a destroyer of temples, and a contender with the gods. He is one born to be great among men, and his hand will be against you. GLN 5:5. In the days Nantasaru was still pregnant with Haminator, the king, the father, Galamashor, had dreams. GLN 5:6. The second night of the same dream called for someone from the temple of the stargazers, who sent 2 wise men. He was told that a woman he raped would give birth, and the child would take everything from the king. GLN 5:9. The wise men therefore went before the king and spoke thus, O king, light of our lives, we, your servants, have discovered this child. Though it is yet unborn, it is to be born of a maiden bound to the temple of the 7 enlightened ones. Therefore its blood may not be shed on land worked by the hand of man, nor may its breath be stopped. So now we say unto you, send those who are your most trusted servants. Let them take this maiden and carry her away to a place afar off, if it be beyond the boundaries of this land. The child, when born, can be slain there, and no evil will befall the lands of our God. Hearing these words, the king remembered the maiden he had taken for his pleasure, for while hunting he had come upon her as she bathed. Neither the temple nor its God was known to him, and he had no fear of its priests. Wise men advised the mother be taken out of the country, and when born, kill the child. Mother being of a temple, such an act was thought to curse the land where such a deed was done. The king sent his chamberlain to take the mother, and when the child was born, kill it. Reminiscent of the birth of Christ, King Herod, told of a threat to the kingship, ordered all children born in that month killed. It is not an exact story, but who is to know for sure the circumstances of Christ's birth? This story could have played a part. That Christ lived, I am relatively sure. He did. I only say we may have an embellished story of his birth to fit a certain storyline. It does not affect what Jesus taught. The lessons had value before he died, or he would not have been crucified and no one would have cared. As to the resurrection, I will leave that to others. As I said, I do not believe his teachings are any less important based on how he was born or how he died. GLN 513. It happened that when Nintursu's time was upon her, and the child to be delivered, it was the days of full moon. Therefore the child could not be slain, so they bided until the dark of the moon. Then, when the order of things was right, the chamberlain called the captain and said, This is a task for a man of blood, and I am not such a one. Therefore you take the child and slay it over the border. 7 men will go with you, that all these may bear witness to the deed and swear to it. GLN 514. Now the men of blood were grim men of battles, strangers to soft beds and the gentle ways of women. But some among them were the companions of Nintursu during the first days of her motherhood. Also, there was one whose father had been a worshipper at the temple of the 7 enlightened ones, before it was abandoned by all who followed the king. There were those who murmured, saying, This is a task for those in high places, who speak with honeyed tongues and carry concealed knives that stab in the back. This is not for fighting men. GLN 515. It was true this was no task for men of clashing metal. It was a deed more suited to squeamish-stomached courtiers, but lacking backbone. These have ever needed others to do their dirty works, spawned through intrigue and conspiracy. Lord, hasten the day when real men are no longer manipulated by half-men. After the child was born, the chamberlain did not want to kill the child, so sent one of the fighting men to do it. He sent 7 other witnesses so they could all swear to the king the child was dead. Many of the guards had grown fond of the mother, and one was a follower of the temple she was from. They felt this was a deed more for half-men, as the king or the chamberlain. It kind of reminds me again of Jesus Christ. At the time, all the people that were supposed to be leaders just washed their hands of it and let the mob decide. And so that's kind of the way it looks here. The chamberlain and the king is too scared to do it themselves. GLN 516. The captain put the child into a basket prepared by Nintursu. It was placed upon an ass. Then he and his men went over the boundary to a place where neither tree nor grass grew, but about 10 bowshots distant. A stream ran through it to water fields and pastures in the valley below. When they stopped, the captain took down the basket and opened it. But when he gazed upon the face of the child, his heart held his hand. He was a man of battles who slew in war, a slayer of men in combat, not a weak-kneed man of intrigue and slayer of children. He closed the basket and said to those who had come with him, "We will bide our time here until nightfall. If we lose the blood of the child here, it will be absorbed into dead soil and do no harm. But if we carry it further down into the valley, it will fall on living soil." None with him answered, for they were but simple fighting men, knowing not that the blood could have been let into the waters. Or maybe they understood the heart of their captain. GLN 517. The captain said, "It is hot. We have time enough for those who dwell below are asleep. Therefore, let us drink wine and rest a while." So they drank wine which had been brought and rested. Becoming drowsy, they eventually fell asleep. Darkness fell. GLN 518. Now the ass had not eaten since the morning, nor had it drunk at the stream, and the captain of men bided his time, for he had a plan, and this was a place known to him. In the gathering darkness, he put the basket with the child inside back on the ass. It was a good place of concealment under an overhanging rock, with thickets of thorn all around, while below the ground fell away steeply, being covered with rocks and loose stones. Only the captain knew how in the darkness a large stone was loosed from above, bringing down many others with it, so that stones fell all about the place. Where the men lay under the overhang, they were heavy with wine. They shouted, they stumbled, and fell. One was struck by a dart, another by a spear. There was a clash in the darkness, though none was killed. The ass, loosed from its halter, fled, and none could stop it. GLN 519. Wrathfully the captain shouted, "What kind of men have I been given? Why have you not brought trumpets to announce our coming? Who can see the ass among the bushes, or hear it among the stones?" Then his lights appeared below, and the voices of men were heard in the night. They withdrew. GLN 520. Coming to a place of safety, the men took counsel among themselves, for the captain of the men said, "If you would go unpunished for this night, then you must slay me now. Even then, can you return without me? Also, who knows where the blood will flow? Therefore, shall we not all say with mine own eyes, I beheld the blood of this child, and know it is dead? Are we men of wisdom who live, or are we foolish ones who die?" Thus, born on the back of an ass, Herminator came to the land of Kithis. Putting the child in a basket prepared by the mother, the guard placed it on a mule, and all crossed the boundary into Kithis. Then at nightfall caused a distraction, and the guards, being drunk, were disorganized. In confusion, baby and the mule ran off. The captain then yelled at his men, and later warned them of the likely consequences from the king. They ended up agreeing to say they had witnessed the murder. In fairness, this also is reminiscent of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Again, I am only saying what I am thinking. It is a what-if idea. It only has value if it makes sense to you. I do remember that Christ, when he entered Jerusalem, rode a mule into it, because there was part of the prophecy. Where did the prophecy come from? Just an observation. Take it or leave it. Feel free to give your opinion. Any feedback is welcome. Thank you. Bye.